Hi, I'm Ben Ferguson, and welcome to your AMAC Weekly News. First up, liberals are openly ignoring their own COVID mandates. So how are they getting away with it? I'll explain in just a second. Up next, New York City is welcoming Americans with open arms as long as you have the vaccine. You know, the passport that you can show them. And finally, AMAC Action Senior Vice President Andy Mangione is here with the latest update on what AMAC Action has accomplished in the first 6 months of this year. Quick reminder, if you haven't hit the share button, hit that share button right now. Your AMAC Weekly News starts right now. Do as I say, not as I do. Well, it's on full display once again as liberals not only demand that you get fully vaccinated, but even after you get vaccinated, they're now demanding that you still wear a mask. Some of them even inside your own home with your children. Not only that, but they want to force all of American children to wear a mask in school as well. So just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it does. The director of the National Institute of Health, Dr. Francis Collins, actually had this to say.
And that's the reason why the recommendations are for kids under 12 that they avoid being in places where they might get infected, which means recommendations of mask wearing in schools, and that at home, parents of unvaccinated kids should be thoughtful about this, and the recommendation is to wear masks there as well.
Let me just follow up on that.
I know that's uncomfortable. I know it seems weird, but it is the best way to protect your kids.
That's right. Even in your own home, you're supposed to put a mask on across your entire face while you're around your children. This further, of course, confused Americans, and they were angry. So then Collins decided, just kidding, I'll tweet out a clarification, not based in science, saying this, quote, "Let me clarify the masking message that I garbled on New Day this morning. Vaccinated parents who live in communities with high COVID transmission rates should mask when out in public, indoor settings to minimize risks to their unvaccinated kids. No need to mask at home." And they wonder why Americans are confused and don't trust the U.S. government. Let's just think about what he said for one moment. You have a man who comes out and says you need to wear a mask around your own children and your own house. Now, that recommendation clearly was not based in science. If it was, why would you backtrack just hours later when there is outrage? If their decisions are based in science, they would not have stepped back from what they said earlier. And at the same time, unvaccinated, unmasked, and COVID-positive illegal immigrants are pouring over the border, thanks to the Biden administration's border policies. Then they're taking those illegal immigrants who have not been tested for COVID-19 and sending them all over the nation. Meanwhile, the leftist leaders are showing their own disdain for their own rules that they're putting on the American people, now openly ignoring their own COVID mask mandates that they're putting back into place. A perfect example of this is the D.C. mayor. Just take a listen to what she did right after her own mask mandate went into effect again.
Parts of Washington, D.C. have already been given a pass. We know that because Mayor Muriel Bowser delayed the implementation of her mask mandate long enough to celebrate her own birthday party. Dave Chappelle came, dozens of others did too. And then after the mask mandate went into effect on Saturday, Muriel Bowser, who is the mayor and can do whatever she wants, officiated a wedding at a high-priced hotel in a very pale neighborhood, not a diverse place.
Now, to make this even more ridiculous of a story, the D.C. mayor, Bowser, actually officiated this wedding after she put the mandate in place. And you can clearly see that she and other guests were not wearing masks, violating their own rules. Even former President Barack Obama is also going above and beyond to prove his 60th birthday is, well, apparently a cause to violate the rules that he actually claims to support.
Barack Obama, for example, just announced that he is inviting 500 people to his 60th birthday party at his $12 million spread on Martha's Vineyard, the house which, despite climate change, by the way, is right on the ocean.
Now, 500 people were originally expected, not including the over 200 members of the staff that would be present, for a grand total of 700 plus people at the birthday party. Now, in response to the massive backlash by the American people, the former president has now lessened the number for his party, but he refuses to cancel the birthday party because he's just too important. Yes, this shows the difference between the haves and the have-nots. The haves can both make and violate the rules without consequences, while you and I are forced to pay fines and receive verbal attacks from those who believe that we're trying to kill grandma. This is power that none of these individuals should have, and it's time for each and every American to speak up on this issue of hypocrisy. Well, it's official. The left is finally getting what they want as New York City becomes the first liberal city to implement vaccine passports. Now, remember, if you warned people about vaccine passports in the past, you were a conspiracy theorist because, of course, the left would never do this. Fast forward a couple months later, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is now actually bragging about his new vaccine passport program, saying this.
Examples right there: dining, fitness, performances, where you see leaders in the private sector already saying clearly, vaccination's the answer. We need these strong, clear mandates. And we've proven that even with outdoor entertainment, it makes sense. Our homecoming concerts are going to be amazing. But if you want to go to one of them, you have to be vaccinated. That's a requirement. Climbing this ladder is giving us more and more ability to fight back the Delta variant. By fighting the Delta variant, we will continue our recovery, and we will ultimately beat COVID.
That's right. He's proudly presenting it as the first-in-the-nation program. De Blasio expressed his hope that it will force the unvaccinated to take action and get the jab. Now, how is he going to do that? Well, he's cutting them off from basically every normal activity that you can participate in life in the city called the Big Apple. Now, this new policy will begin on August the 16th with a bunch of warnings. De Blasio said officials will then educate New Yorkers and businesses for about a month and then begin inspections and enforcement on September the 13th. Now, this isn't just punishing those who want the opportunity to choose what they put in their bodies. This is also punishing businesses at the same time. He is actually telling private businesses to, quote, vaccine-only admission or face the consequences. Here is what he had to say in response to restaurants complaining about this decision.
The bottom line is when you go to a restaurant, you check in, right? You go and before you get to your table. When you go to a movie theater, you get a ticket or you scan and get your admission. There's always that point where you come into a place and people engage you. That's the point where you simply have to show your vaccination card or one of the apps that show that you've been vaccinated. It's really quite positive and straightforward. It's really easy.
Oh, okay. Well, that settles it. Apparently, it's so easy to do this that you should shut up and just get the shot. And hey, guess what? Before you know it, I have a feeling that even Mayor de Blasio will be telling people you can't even go to the grocery store or to the pharmacy if you don't have the vaccine. Now, they're trying to starve unvaccinated Americans with this new policy of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, not only physically, but also emotionally, in order to force you to get the vaccine. You basically can't go out in public in New York City without showing proof of a vaccine passport. And I'm telling you right now, other liberal cities are going to do the exact same thing. Now, our founding fathers, they are rolling over in their graves as these so-called leaders take away the freedoms our founding fathers actually fought so hard to protect. Now, whether you agree with the vaccine or not, every American has a right to choose what they put in their body. Remember, even liberals were in favor of this. With my body, my choice. What happened? What I do know for sure is it's time for us to start fighting back and not just getting in line and doing every single thing the government says we must do to operate and to be free in America. If there's anything that has happened that's been positive out of the Biden administration being in office and other activist governors around the country is AMAC members have become highly focused and engaged on fighting back to protect our freedoms. How engaged? Well, it's incredible what the numbers are that we are seeing. Joining me now to talk about the mid-year report for AMAC Action is Andy Mangione, Senior Vice President. Andy, it is unbelievable how involved AMAC members have become in fighting back against what's happening in this country, whether it be the lockdowns or critical race theory. It's a litany of issues that now we are seeing members that are getting involved, writing emails, and we're having big victories. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely, Ben. It's unprecedented, the level of engagement that AMAC members have displayed throughout the first 6 months of this year. As you mentioned, we recently released our mid-year advocacy report, and it details all the work that we've done on behalf of our members. People may think that even though the Democrats have an ever so slight majority in both houses of Congress, that we can't be successful advocating on behalf of the AMAC membership, but that's simply not true. We have had significant victories, assisted heavily by the AMAC membership, particularly on election integrity. Let me give you an example. AMAC members gave us a huge assist to defeat the For the People Act nationally. And they've also had a significant role in the states in getting election integrity passed and in some cases signed into law in states like Kentucky, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Texas, Michigan, and Florida. The legislation.
You know, for AMAC members, this is something that I want to highlight just for a moment here. This is what AMAC Action does. They give you the tools that you need to reach out in an organized way to elected members of Congress or at the state level or even at the local level where you live to put political pressure to make sure that your freedoms are not walked over by socialists and the Democrats. This is the reason why I tell people all the time, it's not just about writing letters. It's about being organized when you do it. It's about being organized in what you're asking for. And that's what AMAC Action has done so well, is to bring all of these people under the umbrella. And look, liberals have been doing this far better than conservatives have been doing it for decades. When they organize, people think that there's 10 times more than what has actually contacted them in Congress. And this is what we are now doing with AMAC. We are actually organizing millions of conservatives to actually fight back as a group. And that's how we are having these success stories to talk about.
Hey, Ben, just to give you an idea of how engaged AMAC members have been the first half of 2021, they've made almost 500,000 contacts with their congressmen, with their congresswomen, with the members of Senate, with state legislators, and a regulatory website during the first 6 months of this year. They have been engaged. And keep in mind, this is a benefit of AMAC membership. And not only have they been engaged in writing letters and making phone calls and sending emails, we've also had our members have opinion editorials, letters to the editors published in states like West Virginia and Arizona.
It is truly incredible to see what the members have been able to accomplish, and with the direction of AMAC Action, helping people organize. You know, one thing I do want to highlight real quick is so many of our victories are happening at the state level. Every state is dealing with different integrity issues with the election. Every state is dealing with different mandates with lockdowns and things like that. And that's been one of the things that AMAC Action has done such a great job is realizing there are huge victories that can happen in different states, whether it be Wisconsin or West Virginia or Arizona or Texas or Alabama, and being able to connect you with other AMAC members in your area to do exactly what we're just describing is one of the best things that we've been able to do this past year.
And we want to let our members know that if you took part in a call to action campaign that didn't get the outcome that we desired, don't think that they were wasting their time, because they weren't. Because we hear back from state legislators and members of Congress, and they let us know how hearing from their constituents strengthens their resolve to continue to fight for them. So it is very valuable communication that we're facilitating with AMAC members.
If you want to see this report, make sure you go to amac.us and you can actually see this report and see all of this great news. More importantly than that, though, I think this is that moment where it's a rallying cry. We are winning and having success. This is when you as a member need to recruit your family and friends to also join AMAC. It is so important for the success. And as we grow, we have more power and bigger numbers.
You bet that's right. There's strength in numbers. And fasten your seatbelt, because the next 6 months are going to be even more busy.
Andy, I appreciate your leadership, everything that AMAC Action is doing. Thanks so much for coming on with great news today on AMAC Weekly News.
My pleasure, Ben. Thank you.
As I said just a moment ago, make sure that you tell your family and friends about what AMAC is doing. Get them involved and connect with other AMAC members in your area. Don't forget to share this video with your family and friends as well. Share this on social media and let people know what we are doing at AMAC. I'm Ben Ferguson, and I'll see you back next week for our next episode.